amazing artist, Mrs. Parven here. And I don't know about you, but on a really hot day, nothing tastes better than an icy cold popsicle or ice pop. So I thought it would be fun if we learned how to make some popsicles, and we're going to use paint. We're going to use watercolor paint for this project. So if you have a tray of watercolors like this, you can grab that. If not, make sure you watch my do-it-yourself watercolor video to learn how to make some watercolor-like paint at home with some things you have around the house. Are you ready? I sure am. Let's get started. You want to make sure you have a heavy piece of white paper for this. I'm going to make 3 popsicles, so I'm just going to kind of map out their locations by first lightly drawing with pencil. So notice I'm making 3 lines across the bottom here, and then I'm going to make the curved line for the shape of the popsicle like this. It just helps to kind of map out ahead of time where everything is going to go. So I have my last one right here, and it's really just like an oval with a flat bottom. And now I'm going to add in those popsicle sticks. It's almost the same shape. So it's sort of a rectangle with a curved end like this. So now I have that part all set. It's a nice idea to have an assortment of brushes with different sizes. Obviously you need water and a towel. And we're going to do a wet on wet technique, which means you're going to actually wet down the paper first. This is going to allow for some really nice blending of the watercolor colors, and it lets you control the paint a little bit more. So wet on wet technique, just wet down the paper. I'm using a larger brush here. So I'm going to make this first popsicle. I think I'm going to do like a lemon lime kind of popsicle. You can use the lid of your watercolor tray to just get the right consistency of paint. You want it to be really watery here. You can always add more later. If it goes on too dark, then there's really not much you can do with it. So I'm going to go around the edges first like so. I've turned my paper so that you can see it a little more easily. And you want to just keep adding strokes, working from the outside in. That's going to actually give your popsicle a more realistic look. Even though, we know that this is a painting, it's going to give it a little bit of dimension. So I'm just kind of finishing this. Now, once you finish the edges, I'm going to take a narrower brush here to start to add some shading. In art, we call this value. So I'm picking a deeper shade of green. If you didn't have choices of colors, you could just add less water. And I'm going to go around the edges here to make it look a little more solid and a little more realistic. You're going to just keep going, really paying attention to the edges of those popsicle. Now that's going to start to create some dimension. You can even layer on some other colors. So maybe add a little yellow in here, or even some deeper shades. You want to sort of think about a value scale from light to dark and dark to light. So here's sort of the basic part of my popsicle. You really actually want to let this dry before you do anything else to it, but in the interest of time, I'm going to just keep going here, and I'm going to add paint for the stick. It's a little too much paint, so I want to water that down a little bit more. Notice I didn't re-dip it into the paint. I just added some water here. I've gone ahead and done the same thing to my second popsicle here. This one is, I guess, maybe a watermelon flavor. And now I'm going to be using that deeper shade to outline around the edges and start to give the popsicle a little more dimension like so. So once you're happy with the edges, again, you can start adding some deeper colors. It can be in the same color family, so it doesn't necessarily have to be pink. You could actually use a deeper purple or more of this cherry red. And again, use the lid of your tray to mix it. And now I have this nice, almost raspberry color that's kind of popping along the edges here. So I'm just going to finish up the edge here. And then I think for some dimension, I actually want to create those indentations that you sometimes see in the center of a popsicle. Notice I'm using the really thin brush here, and I'm just adding some thin lines to go up like so. So you can always add more or less paint. So I had a little paint drip on the paper here, and I actually kind of like it because popsicles melt, right? So I'm actually not going to worry about that. I sort of like that beautiful oops that's happened. I'm looking back at this green one, and now that it's had the chance to dry a little, I'm going to add sort of those lime seeds or lemon seeds just to make it a little more visually interesting. Now comes the fun part. Let's just splatter around the edges like so. Tap, tap, tap. So again, I'm just using my smaller brush here to add those seed details. And the splattering, you want it, showing it to you again, you want to just tap the edge of your paintbrush like so, very gently, to get sort of that splattered effect around the popsicle. Here's my finished painting. I went ahead and did a rocket pop for my last one, a red, white, and blue pop. And you can see how painting it lightly and then darker on the edges really gives the popsicles the dimension that you're looking for. I can't wait to see what kind of popsicles you get to paint. Don't forget to send me pictures of your completed project when you're done. And remember, stay awesome, keep smiling, and know how much I miss you. Bye.